Follow you on our Facebook page here.
Chris, live right now, Chris.
Are we?
We're live right now. We thought we'd hop on a little bit early. I don't know if anyone's even tuned in yet, but Chris and I are just hanging out. I have a problem with Facebook. Okay, I got to rebuild this. This is why you do this. Edit.
Okay. I'll let you know when it shows up on Facebook here.
Yes, please. Delete. Rebuild. Save changes. Okay, so I think we should be on Facebook now. I've got green check marks.
I'll tell you as soon as it pops up here.
Okay, well, we're just hanging out here. I'm going to fill some dead air while Chris is doing his thing. He's got 3 lovely, well-experienced landlords waiting in the weeds to join our call here. We're not even at 7 o'clock yet. So we'll hang out for another minute here, let people get a bevy of their choice as we get settled in for a insightful and live discussion about landlording in Alberta.
Yeah. Usually it pops as about a 10-second delay, and we haven't got anybody on Facebook yet. So I'm not sure.
I see one on Facebook now.
We're on Facebook?
2 are on Facebook. Yeah, we're coming on here. People are starting to tune in as we speak. So, folks, we're just hanging out right now. During a quick little break, we've got 3 lovely landlords hanging out with us. We'll be on shortly. Tonight's going to be super fun. We've got about half a dozen questions queued up for you. As well, we'll have a little bit of we're going to do a bit of a roundtable conversation. So this is going to be new for the show this week. Since we've got so many experienced landlords joining in tonight, we got a panel of 5 of us. We're going to let the conversation flow naturally for the first maybe 15 minutes, just see where it goes. I'm pretty sure with that much experience at the table, you guys are going to learn some great takeaways. So, and I might have to mute my mic once in a while. I can hear my 11-month-old sharing his displeasure with his older brother. So, yeah, we've got 4 people tuned in right now from what I can see. So, we're 1901. You know what, Chris? What have you been up to this week? Give me a little bit of a rundown. What's new in your world? I know you wanted to share an announcement, so.
Well, while I'm chatting, check the Facebook because I still haven't got a notification that we're live on Facebook. I'm not sure other than your announcement that's here from this morning. But what have I been up to this week? Well, we're helping a landlord out of Ponoka. She's a property owner out of British Columbia that has an older home in Ponoka, and she's had some renters in there. And the lady that rents there and her husband. Only the ladies on the lease. However, they've been there 5 years, and he is just a bully in the schoolyard, is what he is. Yells and screams and intimidates. And the lady that we're trying to help out with that, she just can't deal with it where she's from. So, fortunately for myself and my partner Nathan. We have a background in law enforcement. Myself being retired and him being near retirement. This kind of bully stuff doesn't really play a big part in intimidation for us. The louder they scream, you know, in our opinion, the more ridiculous they look. And in finding out now, this gentleman also had a lease with a lady in town through her business to have a tattoo shop. So I think you can see where I'm going with this. We have the whole tattoo thing, the attitude, everything else. And she since was managed to get out of that contract with him and join in another youth or young man that was with him, took the contract on with him, and then went backwards, and he's allowed to stay there as an employee of the new lease. But his attitude and stuff towards the new commercial thing is it's basically caused them to be evicted from there. So getting back to the residential aspect of it, we found when we went in there an extensive, elaborate marijuana grow operation, which so people that are aware, you can't have more than 4 plants in your own residence, and you can't have marijuana plants growing in a rental property. It's contrary to the legislation, and you need to make sure that you let the landlord know that you have that. MacKenzie, am I still online with you? I seem to have lost you guys. Not sure what's happened here. I've only got myself in the picture. MacKenzie, if you want to take over, I'm going to try to figure out how I can rejoin here, unless you can help out, because all I can see is myself.
Chris, you're back.
Oh, I'm back now. There we go. So did you still hear me talking and feeling confused, or am I good? Okay, can you hear me, MacKenzie? Oh, you're frozen now.
I'm loose.
We're going to have one of those nights, I think, with the whole Landlord Show here.
In the video feed. It's not MacKenzie. Okay.
Okay, you're back with. I can hear you, MacKenzie.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna bring everyone onto the show, so they're not waiting for me, and then I'm gonna rejoin the show. So Chris, you're on. So I'm bringing on Sandy, Gord.
Hi, Sandy.
And
hi, Gord.
Hi, guys.
And Beverly. Okay, I'll be back in a bit. You guys enjoy the show without me.
Beverly, do we have your sound?
How about now?
I can hear a little bit. We're going to have one of those nights. You think, you know what, guys? We're going to have just one of those nights. I think if we just go in with, yep, it's one of those nights. Not everything's going to go smoothly. Yeah. We'll do our best. So.
Okay.
So let me continue on till we get MacKenzie back, our main host. I'd like to welcome all of you here. Beverly is out of Grand Prairie. Her and Doug run a Facebook page, very private page. It's like next to impossible to get in there without some major security. You have to have a friend. Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
You have to have a friend to get in there. Yeah. And so welcome to our page. And Doug speaks so highly of you up there as to how much research you do, and you're all that and a bag of potato chips. So welcome to tonight's show. Gord, you are out of Sylvan Lake. You have an extensive portfolio of properties, and you're run under the name of Casa Capital, correct?
Yeah, we've got a few Casa companies, but we hold property in Casa Capital, Casa Equities, Casa PM Solutions is our property management.
Excellent.
Corporations, yeah.
Great, and I've got to know Gord through actually through the Facebook page and getting to know another landlord. She introduced me to Gord. Gord's a fantastic guy. I've had an extensive talks. What a great individual to coach. I kind of look at Gord as a bit of a mentor for myself and how I'm running my business. So I appreciate what you've had to offer me over the past, Gord. And in fact, Gord helped me cook a deal up with my former partner and gave me, the little bit of a reality check as to where I should be going with that. So good on you, and I appreciate you, Gord. Sandy, I know that MacKenzie brought you in last minute here, and I think you have some really great experience with turning properties into ups and downs. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's true. So I'm here in Calgary, and I invest primarily in secondary suites, so single-family homes that are suited, and have become somewhat of a self-proclaimed expert on legalizing pre-existing suites the last couple of years in Calgary here.
Excellent, excellent. So that's a big deal in itself, doing legalizing suites, because there's quite a bit to undertake when it comes to that, is there not?
there's been a lot of changes in the last few years, which has kept everybody on their toes, inspectors included, trying to keep up with what's what. So there's been different pathways to legalization, and as the city's been making some great changes and working with landlords, the rules have changed. So that can be a little bit overwhelming, especially for a smaller landlord who just has a couple of properties that they want to get onto the city's secondary suite registry. So yeah, it's been good fun to work through that.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to how tonight unfolds and getting some advice out of you on that. And Beverly, back over to you. You have your own properties, and I know you manage the page. So tell us a little more about yourself up there and a little bit of what's going on up in Grand Prairie.
Yeah, so we actually moved to Grand Prairie about 5 years ago from Southern Alberta. So we also have a few properties down outside of Lethbridge. It's a little, we have single family homes in a little town that has an 85% owner occupied rate. So, and because we allow pets, we tend to have our choice in tenants. And so we kind of try to just continue that up here in Grand Prairie. We've got a duplex that was a regular duplex, and then a single family home. And then we've taken on a project that we affectionately and sometimes not so affectionately call the Beast, which it has given us some challenges and some struggles over the last, I guess, 9 months that we've been working on it. But we also still really love it, and we are just trying to plug away at it. But I am a mom of 4 kids, and my husband and I have been married 12 years or 11 years, something like that. And
seems like forever, regardless, right?
It's been a while. But I think it's 11 years this summer, and I am involved in a few different charities up here in Grand Prairie, and so and I really enjoy being a landlord and having the relationship with tenants. And I mean, knock on wood, it's been pretty positive for the most part. I actually really enjoy it. I just need to make more money so I can do more.
Oh, great. You know what? You actually bring up a great point, is that, and I picked up on what you said. You're in a community in Southern Alberta. Do you mind saying the city that you're the town?
Oh, it's Coaldale.
In Coaldale, of course. I know Coaldale, straight east. Yeah. And so here's a community that's 85% owner occupied. So that tells me that somebody wants to live there and has a rental property. Wow, you're premium and a premium price too, right?
Well, especially with pet friendly, I personally don't charge pet fees. I just have the rent is the rent, because I can attest that children can be just as destructive as pets are, and you can't discriminate against kids. So we put vinyl plank in all of our units and just charge a premium rent. And we so far have done pretty good getting people in, and usually people stay for years and just renew the lease when it comes up for renewal. And it's been good. It's
excellent. So that whole dynamic of that with the whole 85%, and that's a great business opportunity. So for those of you who are thinking, what markets do I invest in? Here's a lady who's done some research in a community that's 85% owner occupied. You have 15% left for rentals. Wow, like that's what you need to be looking at. Gord, over to you. What's
investing where I live and being able to speak about the positives of the property to the people. Like if I just bought a place and wasn't able to say, like this neighborhood is undergoing, it's been slated by city council to have upgrades to the parks and the trail system. Being able to tell people that kind of stuff too has also, I think, really helped. Being able to, especially when I'm the one that's done the renovations, and telling people this is what we chose because we have pets, and that we like these floors for pets, or I chose this for the bathroom so that you have extra storage in this little area. I maybe could say I get over personal with tenants, but in 11 years of having rental properties, I would re-rent to all of my tenants that have rented for me before and have moved on to other things. But
Cool. I'm just going to jump over to Gord really quick, and then I'm going to let MacKenzie host again since he bailed on us. So, and then I'm going to let you have this back. This is my one and only opportunity to be the main host while MacKenzie left us. So, Gord, over to you real quick, a little update on yourself.
So, Beverly, I want to touch base on the pets. We went pet friendly quite a few years ago, basically because we look at them as being part of the family. If my wife was ever in a position where she had to choose between me or the pet, well, I'd just never put her in that position, right? So, but the thing that we do different is we charge $50 per month per pet. That way, when we advertise a property, we advertise the rent at the rent, and then the pet fees are additional. If they have one pet or two pets or three pets, if they got three pets, they won't even blink at paying the extra $150, right? And sometimes when there's three pets, but then we'll round it to 100 or something. But they won't blink on the pet fees because their options were limited. The other thing is that keeps our rent down. So when we have
night of that problem.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Am I coming across? Yeah. So
I'm in trouble. Must be a storm in Calgary or something.
Yeah. So we advertise the rent at one price, let's say $1,100. Then when they're looking at it, then we say, okay, the utilities are an extra $200 or $250, and then the pet fees are $50 per pet, and then that all adds up. But if we went in the included price, they may not even look at the property, right? If we can get them in the property, they like the property, they'll take the property. But if they don't, if they knock themselves out because additional, rents are all higher with the pets and stuff and that, then we don't even get a chance to show it. So I just wanted to throw that out. The other thing is we do vinyl plank in all our places now too. It's just, it's going back to the older days of asbestos tile, right? They get to be indestructible, right? So.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing is, and then you know what, when you put it in, buy 2 extra boxes and you're good to go for quite a few years.
Yeah.
So just use the same flooring in all your properties. That's what I do. And it's, I use the same flooring in all of our properties as long as it matches. There's some exceptions, but then it makes repairs and dealing with contractors really easy. Your properties all start to look the same after 10 or more years, but that makes it easy to, you can get a good supply, and that the material that you're choosing is, you're thinking it's going to be around for a while, and that helps a lot.
I think that's, it sounds funny, but myself, I'm working towards all that, but I've even gone to same paint everywhere. I can go down to Home Hardware. They've got it there. The contractor can pick up 5 gallons or a gallon. It's all the same paint, and away you go. So
sure, same toilet, same towel bar racks. So when you say to a guy, okay, I need you to do this, this, and this, and you've got good relationships with your contractors, it's a lot of efficiencies. You spend a whole bunch of time choosing your materials carefully and negotiating some good prices with your vendors, and then you can real quick. So I just picked up a 4-plex on agreement for sale. Actually, I don't take possession until July 1st, but 2 of the units are vacant, so I'm renovating them already. And we moved fast because I signed the deal, I don't even know, I think July 10th? No, sorry, not July yet. June 10th was when we signed the deal, and the conditions came out the next week. But we got a new kitchen in there in one of the units already, in the bathroom. It's all painted, the floor's changed, so it allows you to move fast when you already know all the materials you're using.
Yeah. Hey, well, let's go to one of our questions here. MacKenzie keeps popping in and out, so he's having some difficulties. So I'm going to be thrown right into this hosting position here, whether I like it or not. Before I go to the question, there's one thing I have to put out there. We have partnered with SingleKey. If you go under the announcements of our, under the announcements tab on our Facebook page, and you go down, you'll see a blue background with SingleKey, and we partner with them, and they'll do your background checks, and they will do your reference checks, and they'll get in and dig around for you. And for I think it's $19.95 or $19.99, they're offering that service to you, and that's a specific pricing because you are a member of this Facebook group. So, there's a couple ways to look at that, and the three of you certainly correct me if you think otherwise, but if you want to charge an application fee, you can do that for $20 and cover that cost, or you can see that as a part of your investment cost in bringing in a good renter. So what they do is there's two ways to do it. You can enter in the information of the renter once you have it, and you create your account with SingleKey. You enter it in. They do the background check, and they'll let you know within 5 minutes. They're generally back to you with the information. They'll do Google checks, Facebook checks, and it's important that you give as a most accurate information as you can. However, in talking to Viller today from SingleKey, both MacKenzie and I were in a meeting with him, what they're telling us is that it's actually more beneficial if you send the link over to the tenant through the email and tell them to fill in the information, because then it's entered once and it's entered correctly, and then they will do the background checks for you. So we saw you cross your fingers, MacKenzie, but we can't hear you. So
I haven't said anything yet.
There you are. So with SingleKey, we're finding that they're really going to give some valuable resources to our group. And again, it's product or it's pricing specific because you're a member of this Facebook group. So if you have other landlords or other friends that are in the business, get them onto the page and then get into the link. The link is specific to us. So Gord, I know you have a number of doors. I don't know what kind of, and Sandy, you have a number of doors too. I don't know how you do your background checks, but either one of you can elaborate whether that would be a useful service to you as well.
No, I think that would be good. We don't do that now. We just kind of do our own little checking. We have a few properties, so we know we're going to get some bad ones and we just have to deal with them and move on. But yeah, we've had years where it's cost us a lot of money. It'd be better if we would have had the checks. So we're going to look into this, Chris, right? So,
well, I think for a $20 investment, again, which you can, if you take somebody, it's up to you how you run your business, but you may want to do an application fee. And if they're legitimately interested in you, they don't have a problem paying it. And, it's an expense as part of your business, which you can write off for getting a good long-term customer.
If you accept if you accept that tenant too, you can refund it back to them. So say, hey, if you're accepted, you'll get the money back. It's part of the signing the lease or something like that. I mean, it's $20. It's a good filter in the tire kickers. So Gord, if you don't do that, do you mind me asking what you do for your due diligence on your tenant screening?
So we do follow up, like we do checks. We call previous landlords. It's important to try to have the one before the one that they're living in, right? Just so that they're not chased out. When we do make the call, we actually phone and ask if they have any places for rent. That throws some people off because they don't. They're just waiting for somebody to call for their friend, right? Mm-hmm. So it's nice when you catch that. And if you catch another landlord, you ask that and he says, well, not really. And then you go a little bit and then you turn it to the reference and he says, hey, that was kind of different, right? So it's a trick then he can use when he's doing checks. So we do get copies of the driver's license and everything up front. That's important. It was a costly, expensive lesson we learned. The SWAT team helped us out with it. We had tenants in for 10 days until the armored vehicle was in front and the flashbangs were coming in through the windows. Right? in a property we just bought in downtown Innisfil, so everybody in town knows it.
Oh, so, man.
Yeah. Get a copy of their driver's license because I rented out to a couple good old boys, or so I thought, and they were actually the cocaine kingpins in Red Deer or whatever, right? Just kind of getting away from the Red Deer cops. But
I can definitely add on that. I mean, when, like you said, you set the call differently, so you're kind of trying to catch someone in a lie. The goal beyond that is if it's a mill, let's say if it's you that's started the conversation with the tenant, maybe get your wife to do the background check because I'm not expecting a female to do the call. Some more variables to kind of catch them off guard, add an accent, maybe different age, so on and so forth. But then the other thing I do as well, on top of it, I do the same thing you do, Gord, is I ask open-ended questions. I get them to validate different facts off that application. You know, what was the date range they rented from at that address? How much was the rent? Did it allow pets? Was there parking in a garage, not in the garage? Any variables that only you and the tenant and the previous landlord should know, ask open-ended questions to capture from that reference check.
And some of them, you know, I've not really been comfortable with, but you kind of want to give them the benefit of the doubt. So I'll actually drop in on them to say, do something with the application or whatever. That gives me an opportunity to see where they live in and what their place is like, right? So, yeah, you know, some are just there and you're not really sure. But if you actually do a site visit on their place, then you know what you're getting into. Because if that place is trashed, your place is going to be trashed. So.
Yeah.
I've always used the rule to use your gut to say no, but not to say yes. We do pretty thorough background checks. We've done credit checks on every single tenant we've ever accepted, and not just the main leaseholder. We put every adult who's over 18 are on our leases, so we don't have the situation that was brought up a little earlier where there's one adult on the lease and the others aren't. Anybody over 18 is, and we have background checks on them all and do full reference checks. Both we haven't in the last couple of years actually done some personal references, but you know what? It's so funny because you think, oh, what's personal reference good for? They're just going to say all these great things. No, it actually gives you really insight into who they think is going to talk really great about them. And we've had some of the worst personal references ever who've just like saved our bacon. And we're like, wow, really, you're their friend? Ooh. Or it lets you know, what kind of groups are these guys hanging with and what kind of stuff are they into? Do you want to be dealing with these folks? So we do quite complete checks. And one thing I'd like to get out there, I love it when somebody calls me to check on a tenant because we're a community. We need to help each other out as landlords. But I always ask this question, whether I'm going to give a good reference or bad. The first thing I ask someone calling me to check on one of my previous tenants is, if you don't accept the tenant as a result of our conversation, what are you going to tell them? What's the reason you're going to tell them? And so many landlords are like, and so I said, well, I want to make sure that I'm protecting my reputation and my relationship with this past tenant, and I don't need any other trouble. I want to tell you completely upfront and honest answers to any questions that you have, but I need to feel secure that if you decide no based on anything that I say, that you don't give any reason to the tenant. You just say, I'm sorry, your application wasn't accepted. I wish you all the best of luck. Period. And the period is so important. And I saw a question on your site, MacKenzie, somebody asking, what reasons do you have to give?
And one of our questions for tonight.
It's so silly to give any reason.
Don't open up the Pandora's box.
No, I'm just, nope, sorry. And if you have a hard time doing that, then you can put it on somebody else. The office doesn't tell me the ins and outs. I just get the answers. I'm not the decision maker, or tell your staff that, right?
Third party blame.
That's right. And I tell my gang that all the time. Put the blame on my shoulders, right? Say sorry. It's, I don't process the applications. There is no answer, right? So in ours are just a standard email. Standardize everything. Standard rejection email that goes out to them, and their deposit gets returned automatically to them. So hey landlords, let's stick together. Save your own butts and protect each other so that we feel comfortable being honest with each other and saving ourselves from those flashing lights and whatever you said was flying through the windows there, Gord. We want to know that stuff ahead of time, but we also need to know that we're protected. So don't give reasons for no.
That's great foresight. I have never thought about the repercussions of being honest with another landlord and how they handle their PR or their relationships with a prospective tenant. That is a phenomenal tip, Sandy. And
how many of you are concerned about having bad Facebook reviews or a tenant gets angry and slams you on social media.
It's so easy to be done, right?
Don't need that, right?
No.
So I want to know that I can tell you all the questions that you have, MacKenzie. You can ask me anything and I'll answer it, as long as I know that what we talk about is between you and I.
Brilliant. Love it. Awesome. Beverly and Chris, do you guys want to tie in on these background checks?
Over to Beverly. I've had my moment of fame there since you've been away, MacKenzie. I got my little co-host opportunity, so I'm going to let you drive this, and you talk to Beverly, and then we'll go to some questions here shortly.
Sounds great. All right, Beverly, what do you think?
I agree with a lot of what Sandy said. However, I do trust my gut a lot when I say yes. And I try to see the best in people, and I don't want to say hope for the best, but I try to be genuine and authentic with people. And so when I see it from them as well, and especially I do fairly thorough, I guess, Facebook, social media, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, all of that kind of stuff. I try to check all of that. I don't actually do, I haven't really done background or credit checks in the past, as far as, I guess more so just verifying, especially when we have mutual friends. It's been kind of easier. And I guess that's coming from a small town where I could see on their Facebook we had mutual friends, and that made it really, really easy. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I do trust my gut a lot, but I also trust whenever I see red flags or things that are concerning. Mm-hmm. And I do listen to those. I don't say, oh, well, I had a pretty good feeling. I address the red flags, but I do go with my gut a lot. I guess I put a lot of my heart into my landlording, or like my husband and our landlording, and we're not like the big guys by any means. We have what is it, 7 or 8 doors. Trying to finish up a basement suite here, which you are a saint, Sandy. I am not loving the legalization of a basement suite, but never again. So that can be your market in Grand Prairie if you want, because I have no desire to repeat this. So it works for me, and I know it's not for everyone, but I guess
quick question to you there, Beverly. If you see that now we've partnered with SingleKey, how's a $20 investment sound to you in helping you make that decision?
Not bad, but I guess my thing is that if I question something enough that I'm like, ooh, I should do a background check or a credit check, I guess the fact that I feel that I need to do it would be concerning for me, and I don't know because everybody can have a good credit rating, and they can have a great background, until, like, I witnessed from the house across the street from me, there was a guy that was normal, and he went and worked his job, and he was gone 2 weeks, home for a week. And within the last 3 years, his house has spiraled from being a normal house in a normal, all single family neighborhood, to being like the hub of a chop shop and drugs. And to the point where we had about a week and a half ago, they got like a home invasion where competitors or something came in with guns and tasers and all of this kind of stuff. So, I mean, I guess that's just hard, I guess, for me to, if I'm questioning someone's application or just the feeling that I get from them, I'm more likely probably just to say no. If I am even thinking that, I should probably run a credit check because I don't quite trust them.
That's using your gut to say no.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Well, and I maybe do that a little bit differently. I definitely do that a little bit differently. I think one thing, I work with investors, so I take that responsibility very, very important, heavily. I'm working with someone's retirement income, and they're depending on this property that we've invested in together to provide them income, passive income in their retirement years. So this is not something to mess around with, and it's my business, and it's not a personal thing. I'm giving the keys to a very, very expensive investment, and I need to know that that my tenants are taking that seriously as well. So for me, it's so mandatory to check credit and see whether they have a payment history, and not even whether they're good or bad people are they paying, but what are their other financial obligations? Do you want someone moving in who has 80% of their income going to paying down debt? You're gonna have trouble as soon as something goes wrong. Those are all the people during COVID that are like losing their mind right now. So that's important. But you know what else is really cool on credit checks is just to see their last addresses, because you can see all their previous addresses. And I thought I had a fantastic tenant. We've all got war stories. And I saw a previous address that I didn't, that wasn't on the application on the credit check. Google mapped it, saw the name of the apartment building, looked it up, phoned them, and got an earful.
Wow, that's a good way to find a new check. You found off Google the street view of the building.
I just saw the other address, saw the old address, and looked at the rental sign on the building. And
I love that.
And I had already done all the checks on this girl. I was ready to accept her. And it was one of the last few things I did. Whew, saved myself a nightmare. So, if you haven't had nightmares yet, then do everything you can to avoid them. Don't wait until, a lot of people wait until they're like, oh, I never want to go through that again. That was so stressful. And I was so grumpy with my kids because I was dealing with this idiot in my house. And then you put all these processes in place. Do it now, right? Gord said, you get some bad apples.
Sandy, I just, now that you said that, just last week, I had somebody from Nova Scotia that was looking to rent, right? And so how do you do a check when they're way out of different provinces and that? But that's the first thing I did was I Googled the address because I wanted to see the neighborhood they lived in. And not only that, then when I was talking to the tenant, I was asking about the area that they lived in to find out if they even knew what it looked like. Right. So, I use Google. I use Google Earth quite a bit there when I'm even buying properties and that. I'll Google them and I'll buy them off that, and then do my site visits after the fact after we have a deal. So,
Google their phone numbers. You find out if they're call girls, right? Like, where does your phone number take you online? Who's coming to visit that place, right? So I have heard that hasn't happened to me, but I've heard landlords talk about that where they Google the number after they've accepted a tenant and they realize like, oh my goodness. I recently just this year turned down one that had an ad out, a couple looking for some other couples that they wanted to come and paint them in their house. And I have suited homes. I'm like, no, right? So Google phone numbers.
So one thing I want to summarize as we've just covered lots of valuable information. I think a unique perspective from Sandy and I, we're both in Calgary, so we're large cities, all over a population of 1 million. And Beverly is talking about, I assume Beverly, when you're talking about kind of that approach, do you do that both in GP and Coaldale, or do you have a slightly different vein approach for both? I guess.
Well, my sister actually, so we live in Grand Prairie, so it's about 9.5 hours away from
It's a big drive.
So my sister is local to Coaldale, so she is my manager down there. So all of the financial stuff and the leases is through the tenants and myself, but she does all of the day-to-day stuff. And to be honest, she does a little bit. Her and I discuss when we get applications. Again, we have 3 houses down there, and everybody just re-signed for their second or their third years. And so it's been good, and that works there. And then as far as here in Grand Prairie, I used a property manager last year because I was so scared to manage my own properties in the big city. And, I had heard all these horror stories of places getting trashed. And I was really, really concerned to try to do it myself. But we had a duplex, and we had the property manager take it. And within 6 months, we had someone wanting to break the lease. And then we had a hard time getting it filled. And then I had a single family home that we had put up for rent through the property manager. And after about a month and a half, they hadn't found anyone yet, so I took it back. And I don't know if it's just knowing that it's a private landlord, if people, we ended up having a lot of interest right away for the single family home. And I had shown it to 3 people. The first one smoked a cigarette outside the vehicle before they came in and left the cigarette butt on the road. And I was like, nope, sorry. If you're going to do that right before you see me, then nope, I know you're not going to respect the house. The second one, they were super nice, super nice. It was a lot of adults trying to get their lives back together though. And so it was a little bit concerning, but the third family that came to see it, I'd had a really wonderful experience randomly with the applicant about a week earlier. And her mom absolutely loved the house. And she was so kind and gracious when I needed help a week earlier. Like I didn't know she was the one applying for my house. And so I went with my gut, and they've been there now. It's been 7 months, and it's wonderful. Like my husband's embarrassed of how we kept the yard when we lived there because of how nice they have it. And so it's been really great. I totally do this, I guess, up here too. I've got a duplex, and one of the couples that's renting the one side is a younger couple that doesn't have rental history. And I told them my concerns, and I didn't make them, but I said, can you show me that you have the first month's rent and the deposit ready to go? And they said, yeah, we'll show you. And so they showed me, they did a screenshot and blocked off the private stuff so that they could show that they had the cash in hand. And they sent me a reference, or I asked for the landlord of a friend of theirs. And I spoke to that landlord and just asked for a reference on the friends, how the friends were. And it wasn't a great reference. And I told my tenants that. I said, like, your friends are late with rent and they complain about everything. Like, that's not cool. And I just said, like, that won't fly at my house. And so far, it's great. They live there and they have a dash-in, and I'm a dash-in person. They're dash-in people. I was willing to make it work with them. And they're fantastic. They mow the lawn for the other neighbor all the time, and it's been really great. I don't know. I guess that's just who I am, and it definitely doesn't work for everyone.
And that's why we got a diverse panel here. So not a problem. It's just unique. It's good to see the differences. I think though the point I take away about the small town is it's more the relationships is going to be a big determining factor of the people you'll get in your properties, because it's just, again, a very small, tight-knit community. Has probably more value that you can make the right judgment call without maybe needing a credit check. But like here in Calgary, I'm on the same page as Sandy. I do credit check all my tenants, but yeah, it's good. No, it's just unique.
Well, that's because even Grand Prairie only has 65,000 people, and so I mean, I moved here from a town of 8,000, so to me this is big.
Yeah.
But
I've worked up there, so
65,000. It's still not that big.
For sure.
It's still a numbers game, though. The more properties you have, the more time you're going to get burnt, the more time you're going to get hurt by people that you really, really thought were going to be good and let you down. We've had some people we've really helped out and worked along, to help along. And in the end, they turn around on you, and those ones hurt, right? Because you've helped them so much, and then they burn you in the end. Boom. And it's just, right?
A great analogy that comes to mind. So I'm active in the mountain community, and a mentor of mine that's been climbing for many more years than I've probably been alive says to me, Sandy, the size of my first aid kit has changed over the years. At first, you take some courses, or what hits the fan and there's a big accident, and now you carry everything you need and you're really careful. And then after a while, you realize your pack is kind of heavy and you haven't used this piece for a little while, and so you take it out and you whittle down all of those emergency things that you carry with you. And then something happens and it's horrific. And the consequences are huge. The cost to you are huge. The stress is huge. And then you bring back all those emergency things in your pack. So you can make that analogy to landlording. And if you want to, here's my math background coming in, but if you want to decrease the amplitude for that curve, then maybe you don't take so many things out and you do that screening. If you don't want those highs and lows, if you're trying to avoid those really costly, stressful things, it's not just the money. right? It's the lack of sleep and the stress and the grumpiness that you take out on all the people around you that mean the most to you. I can answer Tony's question there. She's asking about college kids. I think that's a great idea to ask for a personal reference. Fantastic. But if I have people who don't have credit, don't have landlord history, then I ask for a cosigner. And I check the cosigner's credit, and the cosigner signs onto all the lease documents, just the very same as a leaseholder, because they are a leaseholder. And the application that I have them go through is a little bit less because I don't ask them for landlord references, but I want to see they're employed. I check their credit, make sure that if something happens with the kids, that they're going to be able to step in. And there's nothing better than calling mom and saying, hey, Johnny missed his rent, or he hasn't mowed the lawn. And, some of those parents they're all over their kids. So that can be helpful. So ask for a cosigner.
Perfect. Anyone else want to add on that? Gord?
No, the cosigner is the way to go, right? Because if they won't cosign, then there's another problem there, right? They're just getting rid of their kids, so.
Life experiences.
I've made mistakes with asking for a cosigner because the application was poor. So there's a difference between young and unestablished and haven't developed credit and someone who has a poor application. They don't have stable income, their debt to income ratio is high, their credit score is low. So if you're trying to make a reason for why you should say yes to someone, then maybe you shouldn't be asking for a cosigner. A cosigner is to help someone who hasn't proven themselves yet, not who has disproved or has really proven themselves to be poor.
Great clarity. I like that. Okay.
Beverly, you said that one of your comments on the page here as you're flying, you said make sure that your insurance allows for rentals to students. Can you just clarify that a little bit?
Sure. So we have our insurance is all through cooperators. We have our vehicles, our trailer, all of it. All of our rentals are through them. And one of the questions they ask whenever we do add another property or when I do my renewals is if they ask that if we allow students to rent our houses. Lethbridge, and Edmonton, Calgary are university cities, and they said that students tend to cause more damage, and so our insurance that we have through cooperators doesn't allow for renting to students. And in my experience, students only want to live there from September to the end of June at the most. So I personally don't rent to students just because I prefer to rent to families and people with that are looking to stay for longer than the semester and or 2 semesters. And so that was just the thing, was to make sure that her insurance allows it.
Right. So you've got sorry, MacKenzie, you've got a defined market. Target market is you want the families and the long-term renters, where other people in the Lethbridge area they target the student dynamic. So
yeah, just different strategies. My question on that insurance portion: what defines a student? Because you could have someone who's like 28 or 30 going back to school to get a master's, who I would believe to be very responsible, as opposed to 18 or 17 and their first taste at freedom without being in mom's and dad's basement.
So that would probably be a question for my insurance company. The way I understood it whenever they asked me was, those people that are fresh out of high school, that mom and dad live wherever, and they want to be able to walk to the university because a parking pass is $500 a month, or whatever it is. And so they, so that's how I understood it, was to be the people that are fresh out of high school, moving for the very first time, excited for university and college, and finally away from mom and dad.
Okay. No, good to know.
First renter, I painted all the kitchen cabinets and took down all the wallpaper. But I think definitely some insurance companies don't want boarding houses where you're renting out by the room. So that could be some of the issue there as well. Another thing, if we're on that topic, is to watch for businesses at home. A common one is a day home.
Mm-hmm. Good points, Sandy. Okay. Should we hop into some of the questions I got queued up there, Chris, or do you got one on the live chat?
Absolutely. Let's get into. We've already covered off quite a bit of the live chat.
Okay.
you have some questions in the bank there. Oh, let's do one real quick one here. It says, do you allow cats or just dogs? I think that's just personal preference. Beverly's got a great big smile across her face on that one. So Beverly, Gord, and Sandy, your 30-second thoughts on cats versus dogs versus fish versus birds. I don't know. Go for it.
My ads say pets negotiable, sorry, no elephants.
I hate cats. I hate cats, but I allow them. They're part of the family.
Beverly?
I allow all animals except if you've got a great big tank over 20 gallons, you have to carry a separate insurance policy on it in case it breaks.
Right. I did manage apartment building temporarily for helping somebody out, and I did take the position that good people do have pets, and I think you got to evaluate that because I think at some point you actually are missing out on a great tenant if you don't allow them to bring that pet in, and you really have to balance it. So that's my position on it. MacKenzie, do you have one?
I'm just going to add to you guys. They're all points I completely agree with. Just to add, a pet's another cost, additional wear and tear. It's a numbers game. So like what Beverly does, she just charges a higher rent to compensate that. But then Gord in his location, for competition in the marketplace, and I actually do the same thing as Gord because Calgary's similar, is I lower my overall rent, but then I have as a value add. If you want to bring a pet, it's $50 a month. But as long as you balance your numbers, because guaranteed with pets, they will increase the wear and tear. Hands down, like there's no way of avoiding it. You will pay at some point in the future to replace something sooner than if you rented to someone without a pet. So you just got to look at those numbers, and if you got to replace the floor that much sooner, well, then hopefully you had that person locked in for a long period of time to make use of that additional $50 a month.
Helps you get rid of that carpet a lot faster when you have pets. And what I've noticed, so I've been in the game for 14 years now, and I'm really noticing now some of my properties that have been in the portfolio for a long time, the backyards are looking rough. So I've done some sod jobs and really working on trying to bring those yards up. So pets wear down yards. So it's not only floors, but it's the outside too.
Yeah.
I'm going to offer that 5 years ago, we used to differentiate ourselves by allowing pets because I think 75% of the other landlords didn't. So we used to get some good people because they couldn't get in the other places. Right now, with things being tight, everybody's allowing pets. So you're no longer differentiating yourself, except you've got more experience with pets. So
he screened right up front on the phone. So we ask them if they have pets, and we say, okay, great, we're pet friendly and we welcome pets. We also, Gord, the same as you, do a $50 pet fee per month. And then we say, we want to be upfront to make sure you're going to really enjoy your home. So let me ask you a couple of questions about your pets. We find out the normal things. Are they fixed? How old are they? And then we say, we have a few policies. We have a pet agreement we have you fill out. It clearly outlines all your responsibilities as a pet owner. And there's a few policies we like to point out up front. Number one, anytime we come into the home for maintenance or inspections, your pet has to be kenneled or out of the house. Do you own a kennel? Right? So find out, because I want my guys safe, girls and guys, going into homes and I don't want the pet running out the door. So we say that that's a safety for your pets and our people. And then I say, dog, you're in shared yard in my properties because they're almost all suited. So you're in a shared yard space. Dog poop has to be picked up daily. Is that something that you can commit to? And we write that down on our screening form. So just being upfront on what your expectations are. But we've been pet friendly for a long, long time. And I'm allergic to all hairy things. So it's like workplace hazard for me. My husband is bald. I chose him wisely.
Love it. That's awesome. Okay. Well, let's get to the first cute question here. We're going to do a gear switch. So Lindsay here wrote literally over a day ago. She said, I have someone interested in one of my rentals that is self-employed. How do you go about confirming employment if someone is self-employed? Who wants to take this first?
I ask them for a copy of their bank statements showing the money that's going through.
Yep, okay. That too. And a lot of people who are self-employed, like I'll take one of my tenants, for example, he does soffits and siding and stuff. He's self-employed, but he really has one or two main clients that he does most of his work for. So I talk to them. who's your main contact at such and such if they're a contractor. Who gives you most of your work? Who are your top clients, and talk to them as same you would as an employment reference, because really they're kind of the employers.
Oh, good point. I like that. Anyone else? Beverly, you got a take on that?
I asked for a notice of assessment. I figure that's what the banks ask me for to approve us for a mortgage. And that shows that they have to file their taxes and what they've actually claimed on their taxes for their income. I don't know. Again, if I'm being honest and showing you the house, and notice of assessment will show whether they're being honest or not about paying their taxes.
Totally. And to add to it, so tax return, a T1 statement, or an NOA, notice of assessment, which one do you pick over which? This could be
NOA,
a question.
Because
you
can do your taxes on TurboTax and then not submit it. And I get you can send me your taxes and it's not actually been submitted to the government.
That's exactly what I was looking for. Yeah. You want the notice of assessment because that's the CRA's opinion of what your current tax state is. Perfect. Yeah, and then you just raised a really good point. If they're not up to date in their taxes, and you ask for their most current NOA, and it's like 3 years old, well, how are they managing their finances again, right? So, awesome points. Okay, cool. I haven't got a question queued up here. If someone wants to dive in and fill the sound, so I get the next question queued here.
I have a question that came over one of the other groups today that I answered was getting a bailiff to come in. Why can't you just get the police to do it? The police don't get involved because it's a civil type of, there's a civil remedy to it. And when I say that is, yes, you have a court order that they're to get out. However, a bailiff's job is to enforce that court order for you. It's not the police. And the next step, or I like to say up the ante at that point, is if they won't get out because the bailiff can't get them out or negotiate them out or talk them out on your behalf, then the police come in because now they're in violation of a court order. So police are saying, or sorry, people on that particular comment said, so you have to pay to enforce the law. Well, unfortunately, there has to be a balance between civil versus policing. If the police were running after every single thing, they wouldn't be able to do the other stuff. And so there are agencies in place that are able to enforce those court orders, and a bailiff does that. When it goes sideways and a bailiff can't deal with it because a guy basically barricades himself in the house, then yes, that court order is now violated, and yes, they up it. They call the police, and the police can help enforce that order. So those of you who have got orders for evictions through the RTDRS or the courts, you can kind of, if you're dealing in the courts, you can sometimes say to the police, can we make this a police enforceable clause? Sometimes you'll get a judge that'll say, yep, no problem. Other times you'll get a judge that says, not a chance. Get the bailiff to deal with it for you. But once a bailiff does it, they'll phone the police will come in, and then it goes up from there. Basically, if the police are doing everything about the way it's supposed to go, now that they're in violation, they're arrestable. They go in, they arrest them, and take them away. And at the end of the day, do you want to go to court to testify that the court order is in breach? No. So the police will use their discretion. The guy's out of the house, whatever, and they just send him on down the road. Now the house is turned over to you. So that was one question that came up today.
Hey, if you've ever reported your bicycle stolen, how quickly did the police show up at your door? They're busy. They've got a lot of things to do. And probably our problem with our tenant is lower on the list to a domestic abuse issue or other things that are a lot more important. I have called police when I have felt unsafe. And they've come to help me at a rental property. But then again, I think it would be very fair to question, then why are you there, Sandy? So I've had a couple situations where I was like, something's not going right here. I don't feel good about this. So in my earlier days, I did a couple of dumb things too. So
I think that's a key word in that, Sandy, is that if you are feeling unsafe, what was the, I had another lady contact me because she had to go to a residence, and she contacted the police, said, you know what, I'm just not feeling comfortable going there. Here's the situation. Here's the person's name. Police did a quick check and found out, yeah, he's just out of prison 2 months ago. And you know what? I know we're G-rated here, but the guy's an asshole. Okay, so the police
lay it
know
out,
that.
Chris. Lay it out.
I'll lay it out there. You know what? We're all friends. We're all family here. But you know what? The police came. They helped her out, and they sat outside from a distance just to look after her. You know what? You may not get that service in the big 1 million city, Calgary, Edmonton, but you are certainly going to get it in your Coaldales, perhaps your Lethbridges, your Pinokas, your Red Deers, because when they check the guy's name out, they're going to see the record. They're going to go, and you're saying, well, I'm going there. And they'll say, well, I recommend you don't. I say, well, I have a job to do. I'm just asking you to park on the street for 30 seconds while I serve this eviction notice. And you know what? As a bit of measure of preventive maintenance, they generally will come. And I'm just going to qualify myself and my answers for some of you that are watching. I have 25 years of policing, and I'm retired, and I've gone at this. God knows why I decided to do this, but I think I know why. Maybe Gord will coach me a little bit more at our next Boston Pizza meeting. But there is some real good value and some fun in this, as well as the profitability from it. But the police really are stretched thin. There are remedies on the civil end of things, ways of doing things. But if you truly do need help and you say, this is where I'm going to, this is who I have to go deal with, and you already know, they do a quick computer check, you're going to get your help. So
that's great. I love it. Okay.
Yeah, that's been my experience too.
Great tips, guys. Okay, we're actually right at the top of the hour of 8 o'clock. I still have 3 questions left. I don't know. How is everyone's night going? Can we stretch a little bit? Can we keep going for a bit longer? You guys good on your times? Yeah, it's a nod, it's a handshake. Okay, awesome. Thanks, guys.
It's all good.
Awesome. All right, we're in the after hours segment now of the show, so let's continue on. Okay, so I have a question from Laura. She asked her group back on the June 22nd. So she says, I've had tenants for 9 months. I'm going to kind of paraphrase. The question's a bit hard to read, but basically she lived in a house for 7 years, and now she's renting it out. And in that period of time, she's been renting out total and living there 11 years. Now, in the last 9 months with her current tenant, she's dealing with pest problems, and she's never had a pest there before. And this is ants and mice and stuff of that nature. She's asking what can be done. Can she go back on the tenant on this? How can you handle pests when there hasn't been a history of pests before in a rental property? Who wants to take this first? Someone's raising a hand?
You're saying pests, not pets, right?
Pests, yeah. Mice and vermin and insects, yeah. PES.
Hey, that's one of our landlord responsibilities. And, you know, a lot of us have had our situations where we know that tenant grabbed a sofa from who knows where and dragged it into the house and brought bed bugs in or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's our responsibility as landlords to keep the home pest free. So if you've got mice, get an exterminator out there. They're very good at figuring out where they're getting in and just get it fixed. It's a cost of doing business. Sometimes it's frustrating because you feel it might be the tenant's fault. Just get it fixed and move on.
Can you put something in your lease if you determine it's a tenant's responsibility that you could raise your rent or charge them a fee?
I put a bed bug thing in our lease that if they bring it in, that they're responsible for the costs. Now, I've never recovered it from that. We've only had one bad bed bug incident, but we've had issues with mice. We had a guy that worked at a dump and brought stuff back from the dump, and next thing we have a bunch of mice in his cabinets. He calls the health department first. He doesn't talk to us first. So now you got a health department order to get them cleared out. So you get the exterminators there and they do their thing or whatever and get it done. But the exterminator then writes a report that it's coming from bags and like a bag of stuff that the tenant says he got from the dump where he works. So it gives you a little bit of a record, that third party record that, you know, if you're into the RTDS and you got to move them out or whatever, you can bring it up kind of deal. But you're liable, you're responsible. They're not responsible because they're tenants.
Yeah, well, that backs up you're saying to get a report. So you know your contractors well. You use the same exterminator all the time,
yeah.
And you have a good relationship with them. then you can say, hey, I need to know how these are getting in there. If I find no holes on the outside, then yes, you can get that report. And I think it would be the same as you're going on a move-out inspection. Normal wear and tear, you don't charge your tenants. Improper use, you call me and you tell me that your oven broke down because who knows what you're doing inside it, right, then that gets charged back to you. But if the broiler just broke, then it's the same thing, right? So if you're using the property improperly, then yeah, I think that you have a leg to stand on to charge it back, especially when you have that.
Great tips. Beverly, Chris, do you guys want to throw a tip in, or are you happy with what you heard?
I personally, the only issue I guess with Pest we've had, when I always attend the house whenever there's been an issue, and in the one case of this, I just pointed out that, hey, you've got to rake the leaves up that are around the foundation. Like that's what's making those little beetles, like the black and red beetles, elder beetles. And so I just try to go over however we can prevent it. And I remind them that, sure, we can come spray poison, but you have pets and kids. So if you want me to spray poison in your house, we can do it. But it's probably better if you just make sure that there's no crumbs on the floor and the leaves are raked away from the foundation and there's no brush up against the house. So for the most part, people have been proactive just because of the fact that my only options are to come spray poison. And people usually don't want that when they have pets and kids. So I just try to remind them that you have, like there's no magic cure. You have to do the preventative actions. Otherwise, our only choice is to spray poison on the floor. So.
Okay, good to know. Okay, awesome. We'll go right to the next question here, guys. I just closed it. Shoot. Okay, I got another one here. I'll find that question back here in a second. So Sasha wrote, okay, we have wonderful tenants who've been with us for over 2 years now. They have 1 year remaining on their 2-year lease, which is going well. They've just requested to have another lease extension to July 22nd. So my question is, how would you at this time rent increase for the additional year that they are requesting? We have not increased the rents since they first took the unit back in 2018.
So they're asking, they have 1 more year, which means their lease is up in 2021, and they're asking to extend it right now for another year to 2022.
Sorry, I'm having a little hard time hearing you, Sandy. I'm just gonna.
I think somebody's gonna be. I can hear somebody typing like crazy. So they have a lease till 2021, 1 year remaining on that, and they're asking for a lease extension into 2022. Hey,
that's right. That's right. So they're both.
If they're good tenants, we're in stormy waters right now. I don't think any landlord in the right mind is saying that things are going to be rosy, peachy fine and great over the next year. Count your lucky stars that someone wants to keep in the property. And so one thing is you can just extend it and get some stability in the turbulent waters. Or perhaps you write a new lease that has a start date in 2021 and ends in 2022, and then you can factor in a small rent increase. So you're just pre-signing the lease, but it's still a fixed term and it doesn't start till next year. So those are 2 ideas.
Oh, I never even thought of that. I was thinking that, kind of the same thing that Sandy was talking about, is if they have a current lease right now and maybe you're just going to start a new one, put 2 years on the lease and put at the 2nd year mark in January 1st, the rent goes up, that small increase you're talking about. So then you've got 2 terms on the same lease, and the 2nd term has a slight increase. Or, like you said, position of a brand new lease in the future starting after the current lease. So.
What about Gord? What do you got to say there, my friend? You got to unmute Gord.
I muted Gord. Here, I'll help you out, Gord.
No, there. No, Sandy's hit it right on the head. And I mean, right now, if you got somebody that's good, I wouldn't be going for an extra $50. I'd just be happy you got somebody that's good. They move out and you're going to be missing a month somewhere along the line there anyway, so it's going to cost you more. I just stick with what you know.
Yeah.
One reason I do a 2nd lease next year with the increase is I like my leases to be clean and understandable. When I go to a financial institution to refinance, or I'm buying a new property and I got to freaking give them a million trillion leases for all these properties, I want them to easily be able to verify how much am I pulling in for rent. So if I have these little addendums that say at this date, you're paying this much, and then it changes on February 1st. So that might be a reason just to say, let's sign 2 different leases here, so that if you're refinancing or building your portfolio, make your life simpler with all that crazy paperwork.
That is awesome tips, Sandy. That's phenomenal. I would just add on to that from my take. If you're doing repairs on the property and you've got a good, so we've seen this question a lot. Do I allow my tenants to do repairs on the property, paint and whatever else? So I'm going to say generally no. If I've got tenants doing small things, like I had a tenant replace a door handle, for example, I just said, go and do it. Go to Canadian Tire, buy the piece. I'll send you a $20 gift card to Cabela's. He's like, oh, great. I basically just saved the cost of $100 or $80 handyman coming out. But if you're doing any of these kind of side deals with a known good tenant, caveat there, charge the full rent, and then if you're going to do a refund it on a separate transaction, because it makes your overall revenue higher on the property. And going back to what Sandy says about preparing yourself to get more properties, the banks will look at your total revenue in the property, and if you're doing discounts to the tenant for whatever side agreement, and you'll start lowering your monthly rent, you got less rent to qualify at the banks with. So don't do that. Keep your rents at the maximum amount, and do separate e-transfers if there's any side agreement, refunds, prorations, internet, whatever you're doing on the side of the tenant.
And that's the very same goes if you have a property manager or staff who live in any of your units, or a resident manager. I say charge the market rent and pay them separately, so that you're especially in commercial properties, so that you're keeping the books looking good with what your rents really are, market rents.
Cap rate or something. Yep. Nice. Okay.
How are we doing for questions there? Or are we going to wrap her up, MacKenzie? Where do you?
I got talking to you guys, and I don't know if I found the question yet. Give me a moment. Reopen last close tab. Does this work?
I'll jump in there back to the leases, renewing the leases. We have like a 2-page renewal. So instead of doing another 14, 16-page lease and filling it all in, we just do the 2-page renewal, and they sign that. And then when I got to go to the bank and that, I just show them that 2-page. It's got the rent amount, and it's got the length of the term, and it's got their signatures on the second page. And that's what I provide to the bank instead of like the whole big lease document. And sometimes to the bank, I just include the lease document. I just pull out the pertinent pages, the front page showing the terms, the second page showing the security deposit and stuff, and then the last page with their signature on. So I just kind of give the bank those clean documents, so it's not not a big. You can send them more documents without going over the max size to sending.
Yeah, and that falls in line with what Sandy's saying, right? Clean, easy documentation makes your lending providers happy when they look at proving you. So if you make their life easy, they'll probably be more positive about applying your mortgage request. Okay, so I got we'll do one more question for sure, and we'll see how we're going. I don't want to really go past quarter past on the hour. So Lisa writes, damages and cleaning invoices. If I do the work to repair and or clean my adult son's rental property, and I bill him normal reasonable amounts through my company, can that invoice be used to claim damages and cleaning charges from the tenant? Please, as much, yeah. So basically they're saying, if I know the rental property owner, there's a family relationship in this case, can they do the cleaning themselves, and then will those invoices stand up in RTDRS or the courts?
I don't personally have experience going to RTDS, but I did have to pay someone to clean one time after tenants had moved out, and I paid a friend's mom, and she wrote me a receipt for it, and that's what I used to take it from the deposit. And I mean, the tenants knew that they left it dirty, so I never did have to go to fight about it. So
we have enough properties now that we've got to get somebody anyway, so we always just get somebody else to do the work. And some of them, it's just like we were in a place today, like, chasing her for the money that for the damages that are left there. it's going to get blood out of a stone, right? So it's just like you hit it hard, you get it done, you move on, right? Next.
Okay. And yeah, this person had there's 14 responses on the post, and basically I think what the consensus was on the group's response, I'll just give a quick summary, is as long as you're charging a market rate and you've got you can go and get some third-party quotes to validate your numbers should stand up in court. So whether you're cleaning your own property and charging it back to the tenant, if it's deemed reasonable, you shouldn't have a problem with it. Okay. All right, last one, and we'll wrap things up here. Where is it? I don't have it. We'll call it a night. It's been good. Let's do a quick roundtable. So I'm going to say thank you, Sandy, Gord, Beverly. Thank you guys for spending your evenings with us. We're at 15 people still watching. I saw us peak around 22, 23. So you guys were definitely entertaining and exciting and very educational. So thank you for contributing. That raised the roof. Let's just do a quick little focus spot or a plug for each of you. If you guys got a passion project, a business venture you're working on, or maybe a charity, here's your moment to shine, share back with the community, and promote what's important to you. So I'm going to go counterclockwise. Beverly, we'll start with you.
I'm really sorry I missed that because I could hear someone doing dishes and I didn't know if it was a pop-up thing from mine, so I missed your question.
Oh, okay. I'm just going to mute Chris because he's already muted now. So it's a plug. So do you have a passion project? Are you working on a business venture? Is there a charity that's very important to you? Here's your opportunity to share back to the group something that's of value to yourself. Yeah. So actually, I've got two. I volunteer with Bandage Paws, which is an animal rescue group here in Grand Prairie. We got our dog from them, and they're just fantastic folks. If anybody's looking for a volunteer project in Grand Prairie, they need volunteers and they need cash. So they're awesome. And then I work with Inclusion Grand Prairie, which is a sister or an extension of Inclusion Alberta, which advocates for individuals and families of people with disabilities to be fully included in community life. And we are just about done our book basket project, where we donate books to all of the schools in the Grand Prairie region. And so yeah, it's exciting. If you're in the Grand Prairie area and you have bottles this summer, please save them for September, because thank you Aquaterra and Recycle Plus, we are the charity of the month for bottle drives for September. So very cool. Yeah, awesome. That's my passion projects. Cool. Thank you, Beverly.
I'm still spoiling my grandkids. So we did a zip line on the weekend. They go 175 feet over their pond, and out of their tree house that's 14 feet up in the air. So yeah, I got lots of stuff going on real estate. And when we get a break in that, we get up with the grandkids, we do stuff with them. So
you have your own private personal zip line?
My grandkids live on a little acreage up by Leduc. Yeah. And it's a beautiful little thing. They got a pond. So I built them a little 20 by 12 tree house up in the trees. And now we're doing the zip line 175 feet across the pond to the other side. So
well, I think there's a reality show for you, zip lines and tree houses there by Casa Capital. So I think you should look into that, my friend. I'm coming up this weekend to fly on your zip line.
I'll send you some pictures.
Excellent, excellent.
All right.
Sandy, over to you.
Yes, sir. So I have been busy over the last few years legalizing all of our secondary suites. So I'm very familiar with the legalization process for pre-existing secondary suites, not new builds. It's quite different at this moment, and that's key. The city of Calgary, that is, has extended the amnesty program that's in place until December 1st, 2021. So we have a year and a half to be able to legalize pre-existing suites in a way that's economical and makes sense for our numbers and keeps our tenants safe. City of Calgary has now made it mandatory to have your suites on the secondary suite registry, showing that it's passed all the safety codes. And in fact, when that amnesty period is over, City has made it very clear that enforcement is going to take place, and have already passed the bylaws making it illegal to advertise your suite if it's not on the registry. Right now, you can do so. Get that suite legalized. It's not as painful as you may think when you know the process. I have completed all of our portfolio and have been helping over this last year other landlords through the process. So if you've got some suites that aren't legal, or you know someone who does, please talk to them, because putting it off is not only going to cost a whole bunch more money. Right now, you don't need separate furnaces. Later, you do. So just that alone is crazy. So get her done. And I'd love to help out for anybody who is still a little nervous about that process. I get it. I was really nervous at first too, and I can help you through it.
Awesome.
That's great. I guess my turn now. We did have a question. I think you answered it, Sandy, earlier. Someone looking to talk about legalizing suites, and then I endorsed your comment and telling them to get a hold of you. So you may have a great consulting sideline on the go there, Sandy. So I just wanted to say thank you so much, you guys that participate in the show. I think we hit up to, I think, almost 25 viewers at one point, I think, MacKenzie. This is awesome. Exciting to see all of you participating in this and the comments that are coming out. We want your feedback. We want to hear from you. We're trying to make this a great place, a safe place for you to discuss your situations in your business and to grow from there. What I'd like to do next week is Don Gray runs a business for helping landlords with evictions up in Edmonton. Dean Marsh, he's just coming online with us. He's out of Airdrie, and he's looking to help out with Southern Alberta and area for helping with evictions. And he does extensive work as well in the courts. And Rob Bowen, which you all know him as Rob Bow, and our resident opinionated stronghold, strong arm landlord. Love the guy. He's our resident ginger, and I'd like to do up a show. I'm hoping this will all come together next Wednesday. Maybe we can get all three legal guys in here, telling their stories, and just having a real good discussion on how we can help you as in a whole, as landlords that are a little bit of afraid to take on that RTDS and take on that court experience. And these guys are who we've see that we can entrust this program here that we have with Facebook and our page, and trust it with them to help all of you. So I'm hoping that's where we'll head with our show next week. So that's a little bit of a plug. Those of you who followed it to the end. Over to you, MacKenzie.
Oh, that's it. Lots of smiles. Thank you. We'll see you guys next week. Have a great week.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, all.